Welcome to the Uncommon Human Podcast, where we help you perform the common uncommonly well. Your coach for all things physical and spiritual is Derek De Rosario, who for 25 years has brought transformation to thousands of clients. With God's help, Coach Derek has overcome many adversities on his own journey of faith and fitness, and now he's the owner of Fit to Serve Fitness in Henderson, Nevada. Having discovered tennis at a young age, he excelled at the amateur, intercollegiate, and professional levels. Afterwards, he discovered the sport of CrossFit, and by 2019 had ranked #1 CrossFitter for the state of Nevada in his division. Having achieved all this, Coach Derek now considers himself an ambassador for Christ to help you in your journey to become the uncommon human through faith and fitness. Here with today's podcast is Coach Derek.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Uncommon Human Podcast. We are moving up the hierarchy. As you can see on the screen, we have attacked the nutrition side. We believe we're moving up on the fitness side, and we are at weight training. And I'm here with Keebo Robinson. What's up, Keebo?
Hey, what's going on, Derek?
What's up, man?
Glad to be here. Yeah.
Good. Keebo and I go way back in the day. So what better person to talk to about weights? He's in the field right now, has always been in the field, and it's been a part of his life for forever, and his family and everyone's doing weights, you know what I mean? So his whole, he lives it, breathes it, does it, still doing it today. And it's all about longevity. So I'm gonna let Keebo, tell me a little bit about kind of that journey. You started back, how long ago? When was this, when you got kind of introduced to kind of sport, I guess weights in general, because you've kind of always been in sport?
Yeah, I guess I wasn't always into weights per se.
Okay.
I was always a little kid growing up, very little. If you remember, even as a freshman in high school, I was 4'11 and a half, only 97 pounds.
Woo!
So I was little. So you can imagine, high school, elementary school, middle school, I was a very, very small kid. I never was allowed to play football or any other kind of recreational sports. My mom thought I was too small, never wanted me to get hurt. Got bullied a lot as a kid due to the size. And parents ended up putting me in judo at a very young age. I think I was 9.
Okay.
And that was due to the fact that my father was in the military with Leo White, whose son was Leo White Jr., who happened to be the captain of the U.S. judo team, probably for about 16, 17 years at the time. And he happened to be from Seaside. He was my dad's best friend when my dad retired from the Army. So due to that relationship, they ended up finding a path for me to get into judo. And that's kind of what got me into sport. I guess at that time, got me into martial arts, taught me a lot about self-respect, taught me a lot about self-confidence, discipline. Not only having a Japanese mother and a military father, master sergeant, discipline ran well in my house, but also martial arts has taught me a lot about discipline and focus and all that stuff as well. So the judo journey took me, through, from the time I was 9 all the way to high school. Once I got into high school, my parents actually allowed me to play football. So I ended up going to high school at Palma, which is an all-boys Catholic school out in Salinas. Once again, smallest kid on the football field, 4'11", 97 pounds as a freshman. So I didn't get much playing time. My uniform was the cleanest on the team, and if we were up like 40-0, I might get about a minute or two, worth of playing time at the end. But later in life, I realized that weights and putting on weight and building muscle, I think, was an important factor. And those are things that I never really discovered when I was younger. I was always focused on speed, agility, and my vision of lifting weights back then was like the big linemen and the guys who were big and putting on muscle, and I never wanted that to be a hindrance on my speed and agility. So I never really was educated about weights until I got a little bit older.
Yeah.
Went to college, was in the judo team in college as well. Ended up trying to play football in college. That didn't work out because I was too small. The whole goal there was like, hey, you got to put on a bunch of weight. So I did start lifting weights. Started going to the weight room. I started eating pretty much everything under the sun. Didn't really have any guidance as far as how to lift weights or how to really gain muscle properly. So I really just gained a lot of weight. And then in that time period, ended up putting me on more weight than I wanted to gain, and wasn't always in the physical shape that I had always been at, when I was younger. So through that journey, I realized, okay, well, I need to get a little bit more education in terms of weight training and weightlifting and wanting to know how to do it right. I got an opportunity to start working at 24 Hour Fitness, which was 24 Hour Nautilus at the time. This was back in the early 90s. So this is before the merger.
Morgan Hill?
This is before, so Morgan Hill was my first club as a general manager.
That's right. Okay, Selena.
Yeah.
You were Sherwood Gardens on.
Yeah, well, that was my first club as an assistant manager.
Oh, okay.
But when I first started, I started in Salinas. I mean, not Salinas, in Santa Cruz.
Oh,
so initially I started out, as a trainer, got into sales, and then moved up to sales management course and became a general manager, and worked for the company for about 6 or 7 years. And that really kind of was my introduction to physical fitness overall. The educational side, the personal training side, obviously the management side as well, and also, my introduction on how to train properly and how to do it right. And so that's kind of, I think, where I fell in love with the whole weight training aspect of it. When I actually, was introduced to 24 Hour and went through that whole educational system, and, that was kind of the beginning of it there.
No, that's great. That's so crazy because, all right, so we grew up in Seaside together, right? Back in the block in Seaside, and Meadowbrook, and hitting tennis balls. And well, when, I was agility, you were agility, I was a thin guy, it wasn't so much weight, but it's crazy how the journeys, because when you were there in Gilroy, I that was my real first introduction. I went to 24 Hour Fitness too. Do you remember that? I was commuting for a brief second there, because you went to San Jose, you go to San Jose State?
Yep.
And you went to San Jose State. So it's just crazy, we both went to San Jose State, and then you went 24 Hour Fitness. I was at the 24 Hour Fitness, you were the general manager. I was just kind of getting my feet wet, in the nutrition side and the fitness side. And it's just crazy, the journey and where it's taken us, and just seeing kind of the progression of what that looks like. So when you started getting involved with like 24 Hour Fitness and that side of it, how old were you then?
So it was 1993. So I was about 20, maybe 22, 23.
22, 23. Okay.
22, 23, when I really started getting into weightlifting, and weight training, and really started at that point with the education part of it, and then eating right. Then I started really kind of seeing how you could develop yourself through weight training. Okay. It wasn't about my earlier attempts, which was, hey, you just need to gain weight, so you got to lift weights and eat more. Yeah. That wasn't the perfect solution. Because along with lifting weights, and it's lifting weights properly, along with eating, it's eating properly, because nutrition plays a huge role in this whole development process. So which, once again, something that we didn't discover till even later, and I'm still learning, even as we go, the importance of nutrition, and the different types of nutrition, and fueling your body, during different times of the day, and depending on what it is you're training for. Back then we just thought that weight training was the most important thing, and eating was just something that we did to kind of supplement it, when it's really the other way around. So the nutrition that fuels your everything.
Yeah. And you being a lot thinner, you're probably eating anything on the block, just saying, hey, I just need to eat anything, right? Just to kind of put on whatever. Some people have the other battle. They're like, hey, let me, the caloric intake, let me make sure I'm not eating that many calories. You're like, give me every rice ball, every sushi bowl, everything you want, right? Like, let me eat it all up and then train, right?
Yeah. So I don't. You probably remember Smitty, Chris Smith,
Uh-huh.
way back in the day. And when we went to junior college, he was blessed with a phenomenal physique. He lifted weights at a very young age. He was very gifted in every type of athletic sport you can think of.
Yeah.
But he was also a physical specimen.
Yeah.
And he would eat McDonald's every single day. Every single day. Number one, it was inexpensive,
Yeah.
and it was his fuel.
Yeah.
And that didn't necessarily work for me,
Yeah.
but it worked for him. So that was my first introduction to nutrition for weightlifting.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, it's so funny how it's changed because even the gym on Broadway, their Body Line, that's where I first got introduced, and the Sanfords and Harry Leha, these guys are just like big and just huge guys benching 5-4 plates, and you're thinking, all right, I guess that's weight training, and then just go eat tons of food and scarf it down and slam down a couple of 40 ounces or whatever. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like that. I guess that's the training, how you put calories on,
I didn't even mention the 40 ounce part yet.
No, I know. So it's just crazy how the thinking is, and then they look at you like, come on, you skinny kid, you gotta put on, this is what you gotta do, and then so you just follow those footsteps until you you get a little bit more educated. So then you took the journey. So you have that built up. You come over to Vegas. What year was that?
Came to Vegas in 2004.
2004. So
2004. So I was still heavily involved in jiu-jitsu. Okay. At the time, I had started my judo journey. Kind of came to an end. I fractured my collarbone. So competitively, it was really difficult for me to deal with the impact of taking 100, 200, 500 throws a day. So I took a little bit of time off, and I was looking for something else to get back involved with that would complement the judo that I had been studying for so long. Okay. Got introduced to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu while I was living in the Bay Area, because from San Jose, I ended up living in San Francisco. Yep. Ended up getting introduced to Charles Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Academy, which is right there on the border of like Daly City and San Francisco, and fell in love with it. Was there probably for the first 3/4 of 2004, and then we moved to Vegas in September of 2004. And then September 2004, and then I started training. It was recommended that I start training with academy out here that was run by Professor or Master now, Sergio Pena. And that started my jiu-jitsu journey, out here in Vegas, which led to, tons of different opportunities. So, I was very active in jiu-jitsu. I competed, regularly, on the local and on the international, on the world stage. Yeah. Training, number one, was always first and foremost. Nutrition was first and foremost, and also strength training also was something that I did, at least 5 days a week, in addition to training on the mat 5 days a week, and sometimes even twice a day.
Yeah, no, that's neat. So you kind of reconnected that love of judo, jiu-jitsu when you were younger, and now you fast forward, you're in Vegas, and now you have this education behind you of like, okay, now let me get my body up to par of off the mat, outside of the gym. How do I strength train to even be better, more mobile, more flexible, more speed? How did that education change from back then when you talked about, I was looking at weights as a lineman, these big guys, and now you're looking at weights through a different lens. How did that perspective change over maybe 20 years or so, right?
Yeah, well, I think in the beginning, weight training was really just a way to just get bigger. How do I get bigger arms? How do I get a bigger chest? How do I get bigger back? It didn't really lead to, and some of the people that you trained with were power lifters, so it was about accelerating in that powerlifting cycle where, all right, you're lifting this much today, next week you should be lifting this, next month you should be lifting this. So there were goals that you would have in front of you to just get stronger, but at the same time, you're just wanting to get bigger. as well. Like, it wasn't really about how you looked outside of a shirt. It was really, how you filled out the clothes you were wearing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really as aesthetic as it was just the physical part of just being bigger, being stronger, and being more muscular.
Yes.
And as I transitioned back into jujitsu, the need for getting bigger, wasn't important. It was about, once again, speed, agility, conditioning, and maintaining a certain weight and size that's beneficial to my size.
Yes.
So at 5'9", it doesn't benefit me to be 225 pounds,
Right.
grappling against someone who's 6'4" and 225 pounds.
Right.
Although those are still people that you trained with,
Yes.
in competition, that may not always be the most beneficial, for me and my size. So I had to, find a way to train, to my size and to the weight division that I was trying to compete in, and be the best and the strongest and conditioned within that weight class. So my training went from, trying to lift all kinds of, heavy weight and be stronger. And stronger is also, it's relevant, but not in the sense of like, getting stronger just in the weight room.
Yeah.
Because it started doing more functional training as well. Got introduced to CrossFit.
Yeah.
Started doing more functional training and more CrossFit type training, where it wasn't just getting under a bench and doing 3 sets of 10 and then going to the next exercise and do another 3. It was a lot more functional movements that dealt with what I did on a daily basis on the mat.
Wow. No, that's key. I think, man, it's so crazy, very similar, growing up, you're like, hey, let me see if I can fill out this t-shirt and go from medium to large to extra large. Like, that was
you wanted to be extra large.
You want to be extra large.
You wanted to be extra large. Yeah.
If you got extra large, you can tell your boys that, oh, I'm up to an extra large, it's filling out. It's filling out. They want you to go bigger, but at the same time, the waistline's going bigger,
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
They didn't care about what the waistline or whatever. As long as you're filling out that shirt, you're good. But it's
Right.
crazy how it evolves into a sport. And I think that you hit on the key note is, I think the wisdom and the knowledge that you've gained, I think still today, and you see it a lot because you're on the floor right now and you get to see, like, are people actually training for their sport or the end goal of what they need to do, or are they just going through repetitive motions just to be in there, just aesthetically, like you said, or they actually have a goal in mind, right? And
I think that depends. There are plenty of people who are still out there training for their particular sport. But I think the most of the people that you see in the gym right now, I think a lot of it's just aesthetic.
Yep.
And then you have the other percentage who are really trying to do it for health and fitness reasons, right? They just want to be healthier, but I think there's a big push right now on aesthetics. I think a lot of that has to do with social media, especially with men and women, younger men, younger women, who want this certain physique, who see a particular workout posted by someone and they're like, I want a butt like that. She's just doing these kind of exercises with these bands, and she did this over 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And I hate to break, and I got to be honest, I hate to break your bubble, burst your bubble, but that's not how she got that butt.
That's right.
So a lot of them have been developing, through the weight room for years and years and years and years, and then found a way to monetize their popularity or their physique, through, some other type of training that they can put on social media, and make money off it, and get fans and followers. So, you'll see a lot of, like, it's just like bad diets. You'll see a lot of bad diets that are out there, like, get ripped in 30 days. It doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
It took you 10 years to gain 40, 50, 60 pounds. You're not going to lose that in 30 days or 60 days or 6 months, and quite possibly not even in a year or two.
Right.
And the same thing goes for weight training. You're not going to get the physique you want, in a month or two or a year. It could take you 5-10 years. Yeah. But I think we're in a society today where it's all about instant gratification.
Yes.
right? You see the best side of everybody on social media,
Yeah.
and you think that they got there in 30 days or 6 months, and that's not the case.
It's not the case. No, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's right. The microwave, the instant gratification, like I want results yesterday. Like, come on, I can do this right now. And if they put a little bit of work in, like 2 weeks, they're like, oh, I'm gonna go to the next shiny object, right?
Right.
They jump around, like you said, to the next YouTube, the good video on YouTube, and go watch someone do some crazy acrobatic muscle up or something, like, oh, I can do that. So on all sides, it's like, how long has it taken you to perfect, a skill set in judo or, grappling or whatever sport you're in? It takes time, and you're always perfecting it. But, that time under tension, whatever that is, you have to enjoy really the process, the journey.
Sure.
If not, you're just kind of like, all right, you're going to be disappointed,
Yeah.
There's going to be some failures. There's going to bumps and bruises.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And there's a reason why there's certain staples in weight training, whether it's a squat movement, whether it's a hinge movement, whether it's a push, a pull, what have you, right? There's a reason why there's certain staples, that have stood the test of time forever, and they'll be here forever.
Yes.
And the fact that people try to say, well, you don't have to do this, you can just do this. And, and that's not you can always sprinkle in certain things, to complement, your workouts, but the staples are going to be your staples, and they'll be there forever. And they've been, proven and tested, over many, 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 many years, so those are never going to go away. The same, I think, with you in tennis. If you look at like in tennis, your there's not a, your practice for a forehand swing is the same, whether it's 100 strokes or 200 strokes or 500 strokes, and if you might change some things or tweak some things here and there, but your basic foundation for your swing is the same. Your basic foundation for your serve is the same, and your backstroke, everything's the same. And you want to take it to your swimming, it's going to be the same, with that as well. So you can't just try to reinvent things, as you go, because you see something that conceptually looks cooler, and they say that's going to get you there faster. That's just not the case.
It's not the case. What do you think is, because you're at Lifetime, you see, I mean, a big population's there, right? Like you said, aesthetics is one of the main things. What do you think is the when you're walking around or you're talking to members, what's the one thing that you think people are missing or they think they need guidance in?
I think form, is a big thing.
Okay.
And being able to connect your mind to your muscle, right? Because it's not always about just moving the weight. Like you can move the weight, but that doesn't mean you're just like you said, time under tension. That doesn't necessarily mean your muscles are getting the work that it needs. That doesn't mean that the eccentric and the concentric, motions are going to be, working at 100%, right? So, by doing a squat, you can just drop down and pop yourself back up with momentum, but are you really spending that time under tension to develop that particular muscle? So what is that goal? So I think a lot of people have a goal of like, I just want bigger legs. Well, what does that mean to have bigger legs? Like, what is it that you want to develop? And being able to say, okay, well, I want to focus on my quads, because to focus on your quads is different than focusing on your hamstrings. Focusing on your hamstrings is different than focusing on your glutes. So although they all work in unison together, they don't all develop the same way. So being able to break apart those different areas and muscle groups and being able to train them smarter, not harder. Just because you're moving the weight and lifting a bunch of heavy weight, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be developing the muscles in the way that you want and in the time frame that you want.
No, that's
I think that comes with education as well, because a lot of people think they know what they're doing, right?
Yes.
They think they know what they're doing because they've seen it, right? They've seen it on YouTube.
Yes.
So they know, right?
Yeah.
They've seen it on Instagram. So if it's on Instagram or on YouTube, it has to be true.
Yes.
Right.
No,
if they look like that,
yes,
and they're doing that, then that has to work for me. And everybody's body is different.
yes,
Everybody's range of motion is different. So you might see one person squatting, butt to grass, and that might work for them, but somebody else's range of motion is not the same. They may not have that same range of motion. And in order for them to get there, it may take them a longer period of time in order to get there because they don't have the flexibility, so there's other things that they can do to still get the same exact muscle tension or the same work. They just have to do it a little bit differently.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because I mean, that's a whole nother podcast, but mobility is a whole, right? We can spend hours talking about how important that is and why most people aren't doing it, and it's so boring, but it plays so much in effect, especially if you're in a sport. If you're only as strong as how mobile you are, right? As position wise you can get into. I think that's a good point. Like you said, it's crazy. You see, you're saying, I mean, people can download programs, they can talk to the pros, they can get the programming, but I believe that, I mean, you've been coached your whole life, right? I've had a coach my whole life. I think even when they're doing what they think they're doing, I think it's important to have another set of eyes, like yourself, watching them, because another set of eyes of watching them is important, right? I think I see the blackout. That might be your screen.
Oh, hold on a second. There we go. It's on a sensor.
Okay.
It's on a sensor. I guess there hasn't been enough movement in this room for a period of time, so it turned itself off.
I thought that was the battery life going again.
Yeah. And like, to your point about coaching, I think coaching is very, very important. Now, can everybody afford it? Is it feasible for everyone financially? No. And I get that, so in terms of how you want to develop and what's important for you, everybody has to assess that on their own. What's important to you, and like, what's your goal, and how has your plan worked for you for these last 2 years, 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah.
Right. You've been chasing this particular goal, and you haven't got there for whatever reason, be it time, be it what have you. Everybody there's reasons for everything, and I've always been goal oriented. So I always kind of needed something to train for, even if I'm not involved in a sport per se. Like, if I'm not training jiu-jitsu for a competition, I still always needed to have some type of goal that I was working towards, and I remember I got injured when I was in CrossFit and doing jiu-jitsu at the same time. I just had a lot of overload on my body. I tore my bicep, and from that I had ended up tearing my rotator, labrum tear, slap tear. So I had all kind of things that were going on, so I took a little bit of time off of like CrossFit, and I took some time off of jiu-jitsu just because of the impact on my body. So I still needed something to do.
Right.
So I got talked into, once I started getting a little bit better, I got talked into doing a bodybuilding show, a physique bodybuilding show, something I never, ever, ever, ever wanted to do. Something I told myself I would never do. I'm not getting up on that stage, oiled up and like, posing for anybody. No. Yeah. No. I got talked into doing it, fell in love with it, and actually ended up doing really, really well.
Yeah.
But the point of that is there was a lot I didn't know about bodybuilding. There was a lot I didn't know about building your muscles in a way where it's aesthetically pleasing, not just lifting the weights for function, movement, strength, performance, what have you, which is what I always did. So I ended up getting a coach.
Yep.
So not only did I get a coach to help me in the gym, I got a coach to help me with nutrition.
Yeah.
And to this day, I'm not competing anymore. Like, I did my last show over a year ago. Yeah. I'm not competing anymore. I still have a coach that I work with twice a week.
Yep.
I still have a coach that I work with 2 times a week, just to help me get through certain things. And also it's the educational part too, because working with him, I learn more things. Mm-hmm. And then I'm able to pass that down to the clients that I train as well. And also it's a matter of accountability. It's not just, and if I'm training with him, Tuesdays and Fridays, I'm accountable to showing up Tuesdays and Fridays. Yeah. And legs have always been like one of those weaker points, for me. And so I found somebody who was had phenomenal legs and had phenomenal results. He's a professional bodybuilder on a different level than me. He's way, way up here. So I sought him out, and the education I've learned just training with him, has been priceless.
Yeah.
It's been priceless. So I'm not, I mean, I have a lot of knowledge, but I can always still learn.
Yes.
I'm not always motivated, so that helps me. And I think the other part with just coaching in general, it's about the accountability part. Like, I don't want to let him down. I want to make sure I show up, and he's accountable to me. I'm accountable to him. So I think that part is key, and it can help a lot of other people out as well. It's not just, I just need a trainer just for the sake of having a trainer to, teach me things. It's the accountability.
Accountability.
Showing up.
It's everything, huh? I mean, that's a good point, because, it's so crazy. We look at professionals that are making millions of dollars and they have several coaches, right?
Right.
They're the best in their industry. They're the best, but they still can't coach themselves, right? Like Tiger Woods can't watch his swing and tell himself. So having that set of eyes, and they don't even have to be better than you in the sport, but they can, being a coach, I believe, and teaching and having a good eye and knowing how to relay the knowledge to the student.
Is corrections, little corrections.
Yeah, that's a different art than just being good. Like, there's a lot of good tennis players, but they don't know how to tell it in the way for the normal average person to learn good. You know what I mean? They can hit the ball well, or someone in your sport, they can perform well, but they may not compete. So to be a coach, I think there's some key skill sets, right? That you think. What do you believe, like, in your coaching, what is one of the key things that you bring to your coaching right now with your clients? One of the big attributes?
I think it's I think the accountability part, I think is that goes without saying, but I think it's being able to correct them on form. And I think the other part is slowing people down. Right? People just want to get through. They have a number in their head, 10 reps, 12 reps, whatever that is. They just want to get to 12.
Yeah.
And how they get there, they don't care. Right?
Yeah.
But, and they want to go heavy, or they want to do this or that, and you can get more quality workouts by possibly slowing the workout down, concentrating on the muscle mind connection, and doing it differently. Like, I'm not going to say doing it better or doing it perfectly, because there's millions of different ways to do exercises and perform certain movements. But I think the biggest thing is really just, like I said, the correction, and really just slowing them down.
Yes.
And allowing them to realize, like, all right, this is a better way of doing it for you, where you're going to get more benefit for that particular muscle group, or what have you. So like I said, anybody can just lift the weight, just go up and down. But doing it in a way that's the most beneficial for you in that amount of time that you're in the gym. Because I think, if you have 45 minutes in the gym, an hour in the gym, you want to maximize that and train the best that you can, and the most quality you can in that time period. Versus just saying, I went to the gym and just checked the box. So I think a lot of people just go to the gym just to check a box, just to say, I worked out today, and that's cool. And that's great. That's great. But there's a reason why you're not getting to your goals.
That's right. Yes.
Right. Accomplishing and going to the gym, I think it's, man, kudos to you. If you're getting to the gym every day, but a lot of people have goals that they'll never attain. Number one, because they don't want to be held accountable for it. They don't want to put their goals, and it's kind of like, having a financial plan. You're never going to you're never going to have that financial plan, or you're never going to have that financial success without a financial plan. Your business is not going to ever be a success if you don't have a business plan. So there's, in everything that you do in life, there's a plan. But the one thing that we don't take seriously is our own lives. And our own fitness, and our own health, and our own nutrition journey, and what have you. So I think that's exactly right. I think until we get that doctor's notice of, hey, you got diabetes,
you got, you know what I mean? Your cholesterol, your blood pressure. And then they come running to you like, I'm going to go every day. And then they get serious because there's something keeping them accountable. Like you said, right? There's an end process where there is now a goal where this was all preventative. They could have taken care of this, but now it's in the doctor's hands, right? And all this can be maintained if we just, I think, live a kind of a healthy lifestyle.
Right. You know, and it's not easy, you know, getting up and going to the gym and finding time and balancing it with family and work. And it's not easy.
Not easy.
You know, but I think, but I don't know. I think because you and I have always been active, I think we can speak from a different place. Like, you can make time if it's important to you. Anything that you want to make that's a priority or it's important to you, you'll make time for it. You make time for your friends.
That's right.
You make time for a football game. You'll make time for, you know,
the
same thing. So something, you know, there's got to be sacrifices that are made as well.
That's right. In the Bible, it says, where your heart is, your treasures lie. You know, where your heart is. It's kind of like when you wake up, where's your heart? You know, some is on stuff, some's on workout, some's on family, some's on God, whatever it may be. It's really where our minds are set on, or social media. But awesome, Keebo, man. It was awesome hanging out, bro. I mean,
man, thanks.
Round the block, back seaside, San Jose State, came out to Vegas. Long journey, right? We keep pushing.
Long journey, man.
Long. And you guys are out there. Keebo's at Lifetime Fitness training on the floor there. He's give him a ring. Facebook or reach out to him on Facebook, guys, and he'll definitely get you in great shape no matter where you're at in your season of life. Hit him up and he'll take you there. It's a process. We got to be patient. Like he said, we got to be patient through the process, and nothing's earned in one day. You know, you have to go through the challenges, but having a coach and having someone there, it's well worth it. So thanks, Keebo. Thanks for jumping on, man.
All right. Thanks, Derek.
See you, brother.
All right. Talk to you soon, man. Thanks for having me. Bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, and share this video as much as possible. And visit our exclusive Facebook community where Derek offers training videos and other valuable content to help you grow through faith and fitness. And don't miss out on a free 12-week nutrition guide. Just go to smiletoday.fitness. That's smiletoday.fitness.